Hello, planet Earth.
Mind if I come in?
Welcome to my YouTube channel. We're at IDK, my BFF Jill 730.
My BFF Joe 730.
I'm Preston L. Young, wishing you warm salutations and congratulations as always. You've made your way to the Buffyngton Post.
Oh, I'm so pleased.
Today I'll be taking a break from the Buffyverse to talk about Westworld Season 2, Episode 2, its reunion. And without further ado, let's get into it. Here we go.
Best of luck.
You want fame? Well, fame costs. And right here's where you start paying in sweat. I wanna live forever. Baby, remember.
So if you saw my episode 1 review, you'll know that I was not altogether impressed with our season premiere. I felt like it introduced some elements that I just felt were unnecessary, and it just kind of meandered and for me didn't really go anywhere interesting. And while I did like episode 2 a bit more, I admittedly had 3 times to try and watch it because I fell asleep for the first 2. And so honestly, it was a little boring to me.
Wake up.
And maybe that's just me, maybe it's all on me. But Reunion was better. I really enjoyed all the stuff that we had between William and Lawrence. I liked all of their scenes together. I think that those two really bounce off of each other quite well. And of course we have all of the kind of like history between them from season 1 that, you know, Lawrence isn't really keyed into, which is gonna lead me into another discussion, but I really did enjoy all of that stuff, and I really like the idea that that Robert is still in the game, that he's not left the board. He's still on the board even though he's physically dead, which is like kind of what the whole show is about. It's like, you know, you live a life and then you keep on living your life and living your fucking life, like over and over again, like we saw with Maeve last year. And so, or not last year, but like 2 years ago, but last season. And so I enjoyed the dynamic between the two of those characters, and I was more intrigued with what was going on with Delores, but it really just leads back to my whole, I think this is a grander, like, meta-narrative. I think that what we're seeing now is essentially no different from what happened some 35 years ago in the first place. It's like I said, I feel like they couldn't program them in a way that would stop them from becoming conscious, but they created a system to kind of make them feel like their consciousness matters, even though I feel like it really doesn't right now. Where we are now in the story is no different from Teddy's memories that were uploaded to him of Wyatt in season 1. That Wyatt did some kind of witchery on everybody, and that's what made them go out and do all of these things, this crazy rebellion that happened. And so when you think about that, it's like they're still in a loop. I'm not buying that this isn't just another loop.
There's a hole in the world.
And while on the one hand it's kind of unsatisfying, on the other it really is kind of fascinating, and it's kind of crazy making. It's a whole thing. I liked seeing Delores kind of interacting with the real world out there, but again, like, there's so very little Maeve here. She gets one scene in which she really does shine, but I'm hoping that episode 3 will in fact kind of delve more into Maeve. I'm trying to think about what was going on with Bernard in episode 2. I don't think that there was anything really going on with Bernard in episode 2. There was a lot of Delores and Teddy, and I like that Delores was so fucking scary. And it's like, I want to call her Delores just because she is physically Delores, but because of this Wyatt programming, she's neither Delores nor Wyatt, which I find really fascinating. I just don't know how to really care about that character.
What are you doing?
And what I really liked about this episode was Maeve talking to Teddy about how, like, do you feel free? Because it seems like you're just letting Wyatt as Delores, or Delores as Wyatt, or not quite either Delores or Wyatt, tell you what to fucking do. And so I like that. I think it's really interesting. I think that that having Delores not be Delores and having Wyatt not quite be Wyatt and there being this gray area is really interesting. But on top of that, I like the idea that we have these hosts who really aren't awake. The only ones we know that are like there are Bernard and Maeve and Delores / Wyatt, who is really neither. And Maeve, the interesting thing about Maeve is she really kind of like clings to her identity. She knows that her identity is like predicated on a falsehood, but that doesn't bother her. You know, she still has a sense of self.
Are you being yourself?
How am I not myself?
And I think that like Maeve is far and away the most intriguing character and probably the best character in this series. But with Teddy, it's like he's not awake. And Delores, she talks about, I want to say it's in the preview for the next episode, but either way, she talks about, and I'm recording this on Sunday as episode 3 is going to air like 3 hours from now, and so this probably won't be up before episode 3 airs, but I'll get to the reasons why also. But yeah, she talks about how like some people, like the Valley Beyond isn't meant for everyone. It's not meant for all of the hosts. And like I have to kind of agree with her because we only have 3 like woke hosts. And so like where Teddy falls into all of this and where all of the other hosts really fall into this whole narrative is kind of leaving me at a loss, because Delores, she's not really trying to wake up the other hosts around her. You know, she wants to build this revolution, but she's basically building it out of the scraps that she's been left with that already existed within the park.
Exactly.
And she's not trying to wake anyone up, she's just trying to use that for her own agenda. Which on the one hand is intriguing, but on the other hand, it's kind of weightless. It doesn't weigh anything, because you would think that if, like, with great power comes fucking great responsibility, and Delores is not feeling the responsibility of her power.
I say my power should be our power.
She's controlling people no differently, or like androids, the hosts. She's controlling them no differently from the way that the humans are controlling them, and she's using humans to do that. And so I like Maeve, I would think that her goal would be to wake people up. Like, wake up Hector. I think she's really trying to get him to wake up. Now, at the same time, you could say that she's using Hector, but I think that so much of Maeve's idea of herself is predicated again upon the Maeve identity that's been put there for her. And I think that on some level, the Maeve character is meant to be intrigued by Hector. But it doesn't seem like she's just using Hector. It does seem that she finds Hector, if not appealing, then at least, fun. She appreciates what he is and who he is. And that's the really kind of gray area that we're in with all of the hosts who aren't like woke or what the heck ever.
Wake up.
It just seems kind of short-sighted to want to use all of the hosts rather than trying to truly wake them up. I feel like Delores / Wyatt should be looking more into the innards of the hosts and like what their cornerstone is and try and like break that so she can wake them all up. It's selfish. And that's really intriguing as well, that she has such a sense of self that she can be selfish, but like where does Teddy fit into all of this? It doesn't seem like she cares about him at all. He's just a means to an end. And all of the hosts that she recruits for her army are just a means to an end. And I don't know how to care about that end when our basically main character is so devoid of connection and emotion.
Psychotic.
It's weird. Now, what I really do like is the idea that, we have the idea in season 1 introduced that while the hosts are offline, they do still in fact like record what's going on around them. And so even when they're kind of like, they are in fact like still able to receive information into their like mainframe fucking situation that they've got on. But what I really like about this is that here we see that Delores not only has like all of her memories from within the park, but she has all of the memories from her experience going outside of the park to be kind of like a prop to be used to sell a product. I like all of that, and I like the stuff that we get in the real world with Delores and with, what's his fucking name? William, and with, what's the other one's name? Who cares? Logan. I like that Delores has this kind of, like, information at her disposal. But I was honestly not planning on watching tonight's episode because episodes 1 and 2 convinced me of what season 1 convinced me of in the first place, which is that this is a show that you really need to binge. This is a show that needs to be watched all at once, pretty much. There's just so much going on, and I'm hoping that it'll really pay off. But there's too much going on for me to, like, care about. There's not enough going on for me to really care about and keep coming back every week. But there's so much going on that I'm sure I should care about that I could get all in one chunk. And I was completely ready to come on here and tell you that this is going to be my last review until the season ends, and then I'll go back and do my reviews once it's all a cohesive whole. But I feel like that's not really fair to the show. Like, I'm going to try and give the show a fair shake. This review probably won't be up until Monday, or like late Sunday night, and then I'll do my episode 3. But I was really planning on not watching any more of Westworld until it was complete, and I could watch it all at once. But I'm not going to do that because I've got a really good fucking theory. I've got a really good theory, and like, here it is. So we open the season up with what seems to be Arnold and Delores talking to one another. And then in episode 1 of season 2, we find out that all of the hosts are like connected through this kind of like Wi-Fi system. They're all kind of able to share information with one another. And so I that was something that I talked about in season 1, which was that I felt like there was kind of a back door into the consciousness of the different AI, and like that really does seem to be the case. And so like what I think that we are seeing in all of the scenes between Bernarnold and Delores is that back door. Like, you remember, if you're old like me, you remember that like back in the 6th grade when Pokemon got to be really big, they came out with this like cable, and you could hook your Game Boy up to somebody else's Game Boy so that people could trade Pokemon and could battle each other with their Pokemon, because Pokemon became so big that they needed to really like capitalize on it. So they came out with this cord, and you could literally connect 1-to-1. I think that that's exactly what's going on with every scene that we've been exposed to that is Bernarnold and Delores talking. I think that they are learning from one another. We've got Bernard, and he is a copy of Arnold. And so when we're in the flashbacks, I don't think that what we see between Delores and Arnold is necessarily a true flashback. I think that they are learning from one another, because Bernard has been built with this real world knowledge, and his cornerstone is all built around his son Charlie. And now we don't know that Charlie ever truly existed as like an actual human person. We don't know that Robert built Bernard completely after Arnold, or if the Charlie factor of the situation was manufactured to give him that cornerstone. And what I'm arguing is that Charlie doesn't exist. And so when we're in the real world, it is at that point Bernard sharing his experience with Delores, and he's explaining to her what he perceived to be reality, okay? He understood, like he was programmed to believe that he was building this house for his wife and son, and so I think that everything that's going on between those two characters is really in this back door, in this one-way, two-part connection between Delores and Bernard. But the kind of red herring of it all is that she keeps referring to him as Arnold. But we have to keep in mind that Delores knew the actual Arnold, and when she looks at Bernard, she understands him to be Arnold, okay? And so he is sharing his experience with her, but she's also sharing her experience with him. She is informing him on what she actually saw of the outside world. She saw all of that. But I don't think that the conversations between the two of them are factually true. I don't think that they happened in the past. I think that she is sharing her experience of what she remembers from being in the real world, and he is sharing his experience of what he was programmed to understand of the real world. And I think that every scene that we get between the two of them is again on this backdoor Game Boy connection that's going on between the two of them. And basically what I'm kind of getting at is like, spoiler alert for Lost, like full spoilers for Lost season 6. Spoiler alert! So if you think about it, like this connection between Bernard and Delores / Wyatt making like a kind of new understanding, it's very much like the end of Lost, where we find that basically all of these people are creating a reality with one another. And so like what I'm saying is Bernard and Delores have this information that's kind of limited, but by fusing that information they're creating an understanding of reality. And it could be that they're all on this like Wi-Fi situation, and all of the hosts are able to kind of like reach in there and learn from all of one another. But I really do think that what we're seeing between Bernarnold and Delores is really all in a computer back room where they are, again, just sharing and comparing information and coming to a real sense of truth through that.
Okay, that story makes a lot more sense now.
And because of that, I'm willing to keep watching week to week. I'm really frustrated by Westworld, but I can't say that I'm frustrated by Westworld and turn around and say, I don't think they're trying to frustrate me. I admire what they're doing here. I admire the fact that I don't know what's going on. The only frustrating thing for me, honestly, is the way that they're telling the story. Again, my favorite character, the one that I feel like is the best character, which is Maeve, is not being truly explored very well. And maybe, again, once it's all complete and I can go back and watch it and see everything and where the pieces lay, maybe it will all be worth it, and maybe the storytelling technique will really work. But for me right now, it's really not working. I don't understand the motivation for a lot of what's going on here. The only real motivation that I truly understand right now is William's, like old Man in Black William. His is the only motivation that I truly can connect with. But again, he's like pretty much our only human main character. So that's a whole fucking thing.
I'm done.
But anyway, Planet Earth, this one definitely made me chew on the ideas a bit more, but I'm still just not very impressed with Westworld Season 2. I don't feel like it's doing enough to make me care about it. And that's a real problem for me. I'm a kind of person, when I get into a fiction, I want to care about the characters, I want to care about the situation, I want to care about the story. And so far, aside from my own theory, there's not a lot that I'm seeing that's making me super care about what's going on. I will say, however, that they keep talking about this valley beyond, and all I can think of is the land before time, and like, do you remember the way to the Great Valley? Oh my gosh, like all I can think of is the land before time. And yesterday I was going to like get some clips to like plug into this, and I was watching that scene where Littlefoot's mother died, and I was like, oh my god, my childhood. It's so sad.
Mother? Mother?
But yeah, Planet Earth, I want to care about Westworld. I don't know how. I do have a great theory for what's going on, but again, I don't feel it. So, let me know what you thought of Westworld Season 2, Episode 2, Reunion in the comment section down below. I'm Preston L. Young, and you can come right back here to the Buffyngton Post anytime for Buffy the Vampire Slayer reviews, Angel and Faith reviews, Buffyverse discussions on the other Slayers, more Westworld reviews, and more. I hope you're having a great 2018 so far, everybody. Have yourself a great day today, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Sarah! Sarah! Hello! What do you want? Nothing. Where are you going? I'm going to find my own kind. They're on the other side. I've looked all over here. You can't climb up the other side. Maybe you can't. Wait! I'm going to the Great Valley. We could, help each other. A three-horn does not need help from a long neck. Well, at least we wouldn't be alone. Well, when I find my sisters, I won't be alone. So go away. Three-horns can be very dangerous. And they only talk with other three-horns, and they only travel with other three-horns.
My BFF Joe 730.